State-run school systems teach evolution as fact.
How to survive in a secular school. Today on Creation Magazine Live.
Well, welcome to the Creation Magazine Live. My name is Calvin Smith.
And I'm Richard Fangrad.
And our topic this week is evolution and education, how to survive in a secular system. I mean, I think
we have to do a show on this. That's pretty bad.
I think today's discerning Christians have kind of got it figured out, right? The state-run school systems, public media in the Western world, they're teaching secular humanism predominantly. That's what they're doing, and because of this, many people think that we should be out there, battering at this education system, or maybe petitioning politicians or the media and this type of stuff. But these top-down attempts, and this has all been tried, of course, in the USA, for example, many times. They're far less effective than in the long run. I mean, the great British revivals, for example, in the past, this was caused by people, just one-on-one, person-to-person contact, the Holy Spirit guiding people to preach the gospel, talking to people one-on-one. And of course, that eventually reached the parliaments of the most powerful nations on earth. But you're not going to impose this kind of system from people top down.
It's a grassroots kind of thing. Yeah.
It's not what Christ taught, that's for sure.
So how do we deal with the present situation where parents of students, students ourselves, etc., in the school system? Yep. How do we deal with that? We get asked this question quite a bit. What can we do for our students? How do we prevent them from being ripped out of the Christian thinking and so on? Yeah. For example, Helen G. wrote, 3 years ago when my daughter was studying 6th form biology, I knew she would get a big dose of evolution, but I had no scientific information, only faith in God's Word to counter this. The Christian bookshop had virtually nothing on the subject. I ended up getting one boring technical book which sat on the shelf. Somehow I heard about you, she's talking about us, about Creation Ministries International, and have found your books and magazine very helpful. My daughter is now doing a second-year science degree and is confident that the world is God's creation and can see the flaws in the thinking of her tutors who push evolution. Her friend, also doing second-year science at university, was sure that evolution was correct. But after reading Stones and Bones, that's a little booklet of ours, not a very thick book, she has changed her thinking and now sees it as a theory with flaws. Isn't that great?
That's amazing. And now you can see a couple of things here, right? Resources were discovered, right, which were critical to get correct information used to counteract the evolutionary thinking that this young lady had been exposed to. Notice also the local Christian bookshop didn't have any.
No, and that's fairly typical, I'd say, of Christian bookshops in North America anyway.
Exactly. You don't see books on apologetics. Rarely you'll see, one by maybe Josh McDowell or Ravi Zacharias or something, but you don't see creation.
Not biblical creation books.
And also see how this spreads. Isn't it exciting to consider that she got this for her daughter, and then, the resources there, and then the other girl saw it, and one little booklet. We don't know how, so this is changing people's lives, their ideas. So we want to get people linking and feeding. There's an article on our website called "Linking and Feeding" by Dr. Carl Whelan that you can look up, and it gets the whole philosophy of CMI out there to people to understand why we do what we do.
Right. You can have a look at that article. It's a great little article. Creation.com/link. Really simple link there. Just type that in, and away you go. Yeah. And just learn more about basically that's our ministry philosophy. We want to link to people and feed them with information. And they link back to us in a certain way and so on, and we can feed them with information then, especially through the magazine. The magazine is the key. Creation Magazine Live, Creation Magazine is a key resource to get truth into your homes. You can sign up for that.
Exactly. Students need to learn how to discern facts from evidence that's been derived from those facts.
That's a key to understanding the whole issue. Yeah.
You know, facts don't speak for themselves. They're always spoken about by someone, and then of course that someone has a bias. So once you realize the vast majority of your teachers have a bias towards materialism, or are else forced to teach under a materialistic paradigm, even if they're a Christian, you're kind of halfway there, right? Once you understand, here's some facts, they always get interpreted. In the public school system, they always get interpreted according to evolution.
Right.
So then we have resources that can take the same facts and show them interpreted according to what God's Word says.
Yeah.
You're kind of set free from
the first step in avoiding a trap is knowing that it's there, right?
Exactly. And so we've seen many quotes from atheists and skeptics, of course, that will say, yeah, you teach evolution, you're going to make atheists out of people.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, we'll dig into more of this when we get back in just a moment.
If you were able to choose the planet you lived on, which one would it be? Well, I would definitely choose Earth because it's so well suited for life. Whether you're considering the Earth's distance from the Sun or its gravity, axial tilt or magnetic field, one conclusion is inescapable. Earth is finely tuned for life. Many see this as evidence for a designer, but others don't. If Earth wasn't finely tuned, they say, we wouldn't even exist, so it doesn't indicate a designer. But is that a satisfactory answer? Imagine you were dragged before a trained firing squad, and they all fired and all missed. If I asked you why you're not dead and you answered, well, if I did die, I wouldn't be here to tell you, you think I'd be satisfied with that explanation? In the same way, atheists can't give a satisfactory answer for Earth being so finely tuned for life.
To find out more from Creation Ministries International, visit our website, creation.com.
Welcome back to Creation Magazine Live. If you just tuned in, we're talking this week about the secular education system and how to maintain your Christian faith in a secular education system.
Exactly.
We need to do this.
One of the keys to surviving at university is don't fall for the bait and switch.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Not discerning sloppy language leads to sloppy thinking. And of course, too many Christians have done this over the years. They've just not discerning what's being told.
Right. Listen carefully to these words here. We observe variation, mutation, and natural selection in living things. Evolutionists call this evolution, and this is why they claim that evolution is true. Now, we see how the environment affects the survival of these different animals, and we see new species arising as a result of these processes. These phenomena are observed and documented scientifically. So there's some words that we use there.
Bum, ba, ba. Okay, but wait a sec. This sounds like it supports evolution, what you just said.
Yeah, I'm using words like mutation and variation and natural selection.
But everything you just said, creationists actually agree with.
Yeah.
Because of the observations that we make. So it's kind of couched in an evolutionary, sounding flavor. But these in fact, these sorts of changes that we observe, they happen very quickly. Speciation can occur within a few generations. We just did a couple of shows on that a couple of weeks ago. But dogs remain dogs, frogs remain frogs, horses remain horses. We never observed fish changing into frogs or lizards into birds, things like that. And that's consistent with the biblical account of recent creation. If you want to believe that that's happened in the past, we respect your faith, but we haven't observed it scientifically, so don't call it science. God created different kinds of animals at the beginning, and these different kinds were capable of adapting to different environments. This isn't a challenge to the creationist model, right?
And so it becomes a semantic issue. We want to use words carefully. Creationists prefer not to call this kind of variation changes within a kind, evolution.
Right.
It's changes within a kind, not even microevolution. Some people say, well, is that microevolution and macroevolution? We don't even like the word macroevolution.
We don't believe in any evolution.
Because that's a confusing term as well.
Yeah.
We call these changes adaptation, because animals adapt to changing environments, and that's a good word.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. It doesn't really matter what word you use, as long as it's clear. That's the important thing, to know what you're talking about. Creationists reserve the word evolution for something entirely different from what we see today. Evolution is that molecules to man, particles to people, or from goo to you via the zoo. That's what we call evolution.
Yeah, and that's
And
what
so
evolutionists call the general theory of evolution too, by the
Right,
way. So
yeah.
now we've heard this idea that single-celled animals changed by mutation and natural selection into reptiles, birds, mammals, and people, et cetera, over millions of years. And that's what creationists call evolution, and they distinguish it from adaptation. Adaptation is not evolution.
Right.
Right? Evolutionists call this evolution too. They call adaptation evolution as well.
Hence the confusion.
Right, and this is why there is so much confusion in this area.
Yeah, there's equivocation, right?
Right.
They call natural selection and adaptation evolution, and they call the general theory, from hydrogen gas at the Big Bang to people, they call that evolution.
And so that if you prove this, it's like you're proving
Right,
this.
right, yeah, and you have that equivocation going on there.
Right.
If small random changes produce new genetic information for these amazing changes in animals, then millions of such genetic errors would be needed over millions of generations. That is why evolutionists need the billions of years in order for their ideas to be plausible.
Right.
However, these sorts of changes have never been observed.
And science is based on?
Observation.
Right. So variation and natural selection don't produce new genetic information. They only rearrange or remove existing information. So these mutations, they destroy some of the existing informations, right? So furthermore, the fossils are not consistent with the idea of evolution. These innumerable transitional forms that would be expected to be found, they're missing from the evidence as well.
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah. So we really need to think about what we're observing and how those things are being phrased when you're
right. In the secular education system, this molecules to man concept of evolution is it's a hypothetical philosophy, really, as a version of history without observational scientific support. The observational scientific support beautifully fits with the Bible. This concept of evolution is used to justify the assertion that living things, the living world, can be explained without God. It's contrary to the teaching of what the Bible says. It looks scientific, but as we've seen, it's not. It's a bit of a trick being played by using sloppy language.
That's right, and sloppy language leads to sloppy thinking, as we mentioned before.
That's right.
We'll be back with more.
Richard Van Grad and Calvin Smith also host a fast-paced and informal internet-based video program called Genesis Unleashed. These faith-building teaching videos feature responses to news articles, summaries of articles on creation.com, interviews, and answers to some of the most asked questions about the creation-evolution issue and the most attacked book of the Bible, Genesis. Visit creation.com's media center to view or subscribe to the latest video content.
Welcome back to Creation Magazine Live. We are talking this week about how to survive as a Christian in the secular education system.
That's right.
We've talked about a lot of things already, and we'll continue adding some detail to that.
Yeah, I mean, here's a question we get a lot. How do I do my assignment on evolution?
Right.
They've given me this thing, how did evolution happen, etc. So you're studying at a secular institution, you've received this assignment, and what should you do? Should you refuse to do it? I mean, should you just argue the case for creation and try to prove that evolution doesn't work? I mean,
we've heard from parents and students who've taken that approach,
and
they fail. They get an F, and that's the end
right.
of that. So
exactly. So maybe that's not the best approach.
No. Don't panic. All you need to do is here. We'll make a list. Number one, understand the thinking of secular science. Right. Understand how they're interpreting the data. Number two, how to research the topic, and number three, how to write the assignment. Once you know these things, you can do an assignment without compromising your creationist views or your Christian integrity, and your assignment will be one which can actually advance the creationist cause and maybe shed some light in a dark place,
right?
As well as being a good quality piece of writing. Be a good writer.
Should be good, yeah. You need to understand the secular scientific mindset. Understand that lecturers in a secular institution they're not going to be pleased if you quote creationist literature and argue in your assignments for creationist explanations, etc. I mean, unless creationism's part of the topic, etc.
Right, yeah.
That's because the whole point of secular science is to find a naturalistic explanation for everything. So as soon as you talk about anything that has a supernatural component, they're going to reject it, basically. One day things might change, but not at the moment, right? So if you're going to succeed, in a sense, you're going to have to write according to their secular mindset. That doesn't mean you say you're agreeing with them. You're just playing their game within their rules, because you've gone to this place, they're teaching you, and they're asking you if you understand what they're teaching you.
Yes,
that's
and
what
in your assignments, you need to demonstrate that you've understood the evolutionary theory or whatever process or thing they're talking about.
Right, doesn't mean you agree with it.
Right, yeah. That's not to say that you can't use creationist arguments or biblical concepts, but you have to be wise in how you do that.
Right, so you need to understand the secular explanation. So you need to understand the theory of evolution, you need to understand the mechanisms that they believe in, etc. Again, you're not buying into them, but you need to understand them so that you can do you put it in the proper framework here.
Right, so how do you answer your assignment? Firstly, you do your research, read widely about the particular problem that you've been given to do your assignment on. You're not only looking at what scientists are saying, but trying to understand why they're saying it. That's a key as well. Mm-hmm. Your textbook is a good place to start, obviously. That's why you bought it. But you'll need to read more broadly. That's because your textbooks will present the information as if evolution has solved the problem. And gloss over the difficulties. That's often what textbooks do.
You're going to find a lot of stuff on the web, of course. You're going to likely find your topic discussed on the web by both creationists and evolutionists. That might be a good place to get some more information. And just read a couple articles, kind of get yourself understanding the key issues, et cetera, like that, and then you can move forward, with arguments for and against.
Yeah, but once you have some understanding of the topic, then you should search the premier scientific journals, Science and Nature, or their websites if you have access there. Try their advanced search engine with different keywords. Abstracts and summaries are usually available, although the papers themselves can only be accessed if you have a subscription, and that's often costly. Cite those articles, obviously use references in your assignment. You want to be a good researcher.
Exactly. And in your research, it's important to recognize the difference between the observed facts and the stories that are invented to explain the facts within their evolutionary framework. Now, if you can discern that, then as you write your article, you can then also convey that, not in a totally antagonistic way, but you can start revealing that, and then discerning people that read that paper. That's where you're really going to be able to start undermining the evolutionary story.
Right.
Because you're going to say, well, actually, this is what was made, these are the facts that were made, and then you reveal that there's been a story created behind that, right?
Yeah, and obviously you want to visit creation.com, read creationist literature on the topic. It's going to help you distinguish between evidence and storytelling. We take the facts and we remove the evolutionary spin. That's what you're going to find on creation.com, and that's going to help you round out your topic a little more fully as well.
That's right. If you can keep that in mind, what have they actually observed between what they're describing? You're well on your way to understanding this issue.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
It's often claimed that evolution is simply change over time, and since change over time can be seen everywhere, then evolution is obviously true. But highly qualified creation scientists say there is much more to it than that. For evolution to have turned particles into people, simple change over time is not enough. A special kind of change is needed. That is, naturally occurring change that adds new genetic instructions. No one has seen this special kind of change happen. Darwin's finches, peppered moths and adapting bacteria are all examples of naturally occurring change, but not one of them shows the addition of new genetic instructions. Not one of them writes any brand new genetic code specifying how to make some new complex feature, such as feathers for lizards, for example. And since codes and programs cannot write themselves, there must have been a designer for all living things.
To find out more from Creation Ministries International, visit our website, creation.com.
Well, our subject today is evolution in education, how to survive in a secular system, and we've been discussing how to write an assignment within a secular system.
Now, after you've researched your topic, you're ready to start writing. You can put all the information together. Make sure that you're clear on the question that's been assigned to you and that you're actually answering it. First, describe the problem that the assignment has given you, one that the scientists have likely been trying to solve. Then you could describe the many problems that a naturalistic explanation has to address. That's one of the things you could do. Yep. Imagine that you've been asked to explain how single-celled organisms evolved into multicellular ones?
That'd be a good question.
That's a good question if that's your evolution assignment.
Yep.
You would explain the changes that would need to occur for a collection of single cells to come together by natural processes to form a reproducing multicellular organism. There's many problems there. Creation.com can summarize some of those. For example, different cells would need to specialize into different functions. They're not all the same cell. They'd need to specialize. They would have to specialize in a certain order, in certain places, in order to form a reproducing cell or a creature. They would have to specialize at specific times. There would need to be some complementary changes in differing cells occurring at the same time, so you've got things working together, and those are some of the problems that you could highlight in your assignment.
And by making them clear, you're not attacking, you're just saying, hey, here's some big problems, right?
Yep.
It would be good for you to quote from books and papers on the topic as you set out the problem, so you're not the only one that's pointing out these problems, right? Use some of the jargon that they use. Simply discuss the problem in a measured, matter-of-fact way, making it clear what criteria would have to be met for a successful explanation. And then next, you need to outline some of the theories that people have put forward to try to explain how this could have happened, and then discuss the advantages and problems with each one of these theories. And of course, if you want to know what the problems, you can go to creation.com and we'll have pointed them out to you, because there's massive problems. Especially try to use the criticisms that other secular scientists have leveled at each other of these theories. You can cite their publications and explain their criticisms, etc. Now, I just want to interject with something. If you've been following along with us here, and you're like us, you're just a rabid creationist, but right now everything we've said is driving you crazy because you're sitting there going, no, we just want to attack evolution, and I'm not going to write a paper on evolution. Then why would you be going to a secular institution and paying them $10,000 or whatever it is a year to get educated? Because you're wasting your time and money. If you want to get a PhD in science and you're going to go through this system, you're going to have to go through the system.
Yes, yeah.
That's just the way it is. So
it.
We know people that have written things like, well, how did evolution happen? It didn't, and hand in their paper.
Yeah.
Zero. You're wasting your
Good luck
time.
progressing in
there's
education.
No influence in that system at all, because now you're just, anyway. So wanted to interject that.
Okay, getting back to the assignment then, if any scientists have proposed different theories of how to overcome these problems, the evolutionary assignment that you've been given, you can talk about the advantages and disadvantages of those as well. You could also mention some of the problems that creationists have pointed out, but being careful to avoid religious or creationist jargon. If you can leave that out, just point out the good science that's been done by creationists to point out the problems with naturalistic evolution. Yep. Whether it's wise to cite creationist literature directly, we'll have to leave that up to you. Just be discerning in that area there. If you're not confident about how they would respond to it, the best answer is probably don't cite it.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think you're being timid or compromising by not arguing the creationist view, because you presented some difficulties for the philosophical framework of naturalism, right? That's great. In fact, you can criticize the existing theories quite severely, providing that it's warranted, and conclude that all of these theories proposed to date have significant shortcomings in satisfactorily solving these problems. And just in doing that, that can cause a lot of doubt about the theory of evolution and these supposed theories that people think are just, oh, we've got it all figured out. Well, you've shown that there's big problems there.
Yeah, your result will be a quality paper.
Yeah.
I mean, if you use those basic steps, and obviously we're not being exhaustive here, you need to do other things as well. But you will have shown that you've read widely, you understand the problem, you've cited authors, you've got your references there, you've discussed outstanding issues, you've looked at contradictory issues, you've made it clear that the naturalistic worldview does not have a solution. Like a journalist, you can produce a powerful assignment that's devastating to the naturalistic worldview without appearing to take different sides.
That's right.
So more on this when we come back in just a minute.
What are the theological consequences of adding millions of years to Genesis? How does it impact doctrines such as the gospel, sin, the atonement? Refuting compromise is the most powerful biblical and scientific defense of a straightforward view of Genesis. Loaded with scientific support for a recent creation in 6 real days, it demolishes all attempts to twist the biblical text in order to insert millions of years, bringing clarity into an area usually mired in confusion. Must reading for Bible college students and anyone involved in church leadership or teaching. Get your copy at creation.com.
Welcome back. We've been talking about the secular education system and how to survive as a Christian and do good assignments and that kind of thing. Now, one of the books that we carry, it's the most popular creationist book of all time.
Yep.
Refuting Evolution by Dr. Jonathan Sarfati from our U.S. office, a chess champion. The guy's got genius. Anyway, you can get this book at 30% off. Go to creation.com. You can order it online there. When you check out, use the coupon code CMLRE, Refuting Evolution. This book has a lot of great science against evolution. So it's something that you could use if you've been challenged to do an evolutionary assignment. It's a great book. Refuting Evolution, most popular creation book of all time.
Lots of sources, resources in there, cited, etc.
Right.
Now, we get a lot of feedback from people in various ways, and here was a positive feedback from somebody looking for information, just kind of like what we discussed here today. Just another example. SH from Australia wrote this to us. Good afternoon. My granddaughter has just begun a biomedical course at the Queensland University. Evolution is included as one of her subjects, of course. Could you please put me onto a good article suitable to her course that would outline the facts, true and false, about evolution? As a Christian, I've reassured her she has nothing to fear. As evolution is real, mutations happen within a species. What I understand has not been proven is transmutation from one species to another. Many thanks for your assistance. Sincerely, S.H. Now, you probably noticed a couple of things in there. If you are a discerning creationist, this lady doesn't believe in evolution, but some of the things she said in there might be a little confusing. That's why it's important to know the types of arguments that we use and things like that. But anyway, Dr. Taz Walker from our office actually responded. But anyway, there's a couple of things that he went through. The first thing, again, that he mentioned to her is the key to realize that everything is presented at university is presented within a secular, atheistic worldview. Don't be shocked when they start teaching your kids evolution.
Right. Yeah. There's articles that deal with that, and we can put the links up on the screen here. The evolution train's going the wrong direction. That's huge. Time, no friend of evolution. Speedy species surprise. There is speciation. There is she called it transmutation.
These are all good articles for what was specifically mentioned here in her thing, right? That dealing with natural selection and mutations and stuff like that, and how we'd explain that, biblically.
Yeah. For a good big picture treatment of the issue, Taz says, see, where do we come from, created or evolved? And you can click the link on the screen to see that as well if you're watching this online.
Yep. Yeah, and again, so he just really went through and said, look, everything is going to be presented through this atheistic, naturalistic, evolutionary framework.
Right. And he gave some basic articles. They're just basic stuff to get a handle on some of these issues.
And to discern between the facts, again, and the interpretations of facts. We're always hammering this point home. Just having a young person read through 5 or 6 of these articles, it's like a boost to their immune system. Because what happens, they often just get...
That's a good way to describe it, actually.
They just get bombarded with one, and they're like, wow, is there all this evidence for evolution? Not understanding. Sometimes people say, well, the facts for evolution are just overwhelming. But if you understand that all there is an overwhelming amount of facts, and they can be interpreted according... You could also say with the same breath, the facts for a creation is overwhelming, because it's the same facts.
Yes, it's the same
facts.
It's
the same amount. And then you don't feel like, oh, wow, well, the other team's winning. Oh, I got just as much fact supporting my worldview.
Exactly. It's just that in secular education, they're going to spin it to that evolutionary worldview. And that's what you've got to separate, facts from the spin. Look at a free copy of Creation Magazine at creation.com/freemag. It's a great magazine. If you like it, subscribe at creation.com, and we will see you next week.